Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It's Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. The Phillies have won 2 out of their last 3 games. They won Tuesday night in Los Angeles. Guys, tonight, the Phillies have an opportunity Wednesday night to win their first series since they swept the Dodgers at home last month. They've lost 6 straight series. They've been playing a little bit better. They've been getting some hits. They've been pitching a little bit better. The bullpen locked it down last night. So some encouraging signs out in LA. LA, of course, you see a lot of people. Ruben, you saw Chase Utley was at the ballpark yesterday. Greg Dobbs has been at the ballpark. I saw Randy Wolf. Mike Lieberthal might be dropping by, I've heard. So some improvement, some signs of life from the Phillies. That's been a nice change of pace for everybody. What have you guys?
Jimmy?
What are you seeing? You're with the team.
Well, I mean, I tell you, the attitude's been great. I mean, I've walked through the clubhouse. It's a totally different clubhouse than it used to be like 5 or 6 years ago. They've changed things around it, and I've gotten a chance to walk through the because to access the manager's office, you got to go through the clubhouse, and the guys actually look loose and relaxed and going about their business, going about their work. I don't really see a ton of change in like what's going on inside the clubhouse actually, but you're right. I think it starts with starting pitching. There's no question when you have a starter like Wheeler who just dealt on Sunday, and then you come back with Christopher Sanchez, who was just phenomenal yesterday. I mean, I love the way he went about his business, man. He was throwing strikes. He'd been working on some things. He had not had a great July. He signed the big contract, and he had earned it. He had been pitching very well, and I thought it was a very shrewd move by the Phillies as he continues to progress as a major leaguer. But he went into the lab, so to speak, and worked on some things. And I mean, it was just delightful to watch him pitch yesterday. He threw inside nicely against Ohtani, kept him off balance. It's the second time he's faced him. He did a nice job with him. Did a pretty good job with Freddie Freeman. I mean, those are really, really good left-handed hitters, and he did a heck of a job of keeping things down. And when you get good starting pitching, man, you got a chance. Came up with some big hits, some home runs. It was a nice Philadelphia Phillies win, and something that we had seen in the early part of the season out here in LA. Hopefully they can carry over with Tyler Phillips on the bump tonight.
Yeah, they've played 3 pretty good games in a row, winning 2 of them, which is a good sign. It's a sign that they're kind of coming out of this. There was Christopher Sanchez, great job last night keeping the ball on the ground. They had that one inning where they strung some hits together. We haven't seen that in a while. That was good. Mm-hmm. They hit the ball over the wall, which they need to do. They're home run reliant, but I still think you can win other ways with this offense when you string some hits together. They did a lot of that in the first half of the season. It's good to see them kind of getting back to that. Sosa gave him a nice little bounce, a little jolt. You started at second base against the lefty. We've seen that a little bit more often recently. You guys getting the vibe that this is kind of becoming a platoon at second?
It might be. Rob was asked about that yesterday. He said it's more about Sosa than it is about Stott. He says he's confident in Stott's ability to hit left-handed pitching, but he's got to work Sosa in there. But that said, if Stott continues to struggle, I could see a situation where Sosa's in there. Now, that would be interesting come postseason time if it stays that way. But I think that's definitely a possibility. And it was interesting yesterday, Rob Thompson starting Brandon Marsh against Clayton Kershaw. Marsh's at-bats against lefties have been a lot better. And Rob said he's also open-minded to the idea that, if Marsh continues to hit left-handed pitching, maybe they keep him out there in center field come postseason time. So some things that you might not have necessarily thought about a month ago as you get down the stretch are kind of coming into play as they kind of try to figure things out heading into October.
Yeah, it's amazing how things can flip, right? There's a couple of months ago, you were saying, hey, man, Stott's got to play every day, and you got to platoon the other guy. And maybe give the other guy, give Marsh a chance, maybe against lefties, but then he's so bad against them. Now you can't play against left-handers. And now it's almost like a flip because you haven't seen the development in Stott that you thought you would get. If it were me, I would go ahead and platoon him right now because this young man in Sosa impacts the game almost every single time he plays, whether it's a nice defensive play or it's a big base hit or a sac fly or yesterday was a big home run. I mean, this guy's playing with a lot of confidence. I know that he loves playing for Rob Thomson. Rob Thomson loves him and trusts him. And, I mean, I got to find out whether this guy can actually be a real platoon for me. And, I mean, as good a time as any right now here in August to see because they're going to face some left-handers, man. And Stott has not, swung the bat consistently well. So he hasn't earned that right to be able to hit every single day against the left-handers. So I would give him a shot if I were Rob Thomson. But again, there's egos he's got to massage. He's got to, there's things he's got to do. The whole thing with not pinch hitting for Garrett Stubbs, a couple of nights ago, that wasn't an ego thing as much as it was he wanted to make sure that JT is ready physically to be able to do that sort of thing, sit down all game long and then bounce into the game. I think he now feels more comfortable about doing something like that after having talked to him. So you're going to see some things when you talk about, preparing for the playoffs, you're going to see some things, I think, that are, pretty germane to being in the playoffs, like to being part of what it is to be a contending team in important games in September and October. And it's as good a time as any to find out.
It's about winning ball games now and in October. If the platoon gives you a better chance of winning that ball game, you must go with it. If you are the player, the subject of the platoon, and you do not like it, perform better against the lefty or the righty, and you will get more full-time opportunities. It's simple. Performance-based industry, performance-based game, performance-based business. Perform, you will play.
Especially on a team like this that's trying to win the World Series. They're not fighting they're not just happy to be here. This is a team that's trying to win a World Series.
They're not playing tiddlywinks.
Yeah, exactly right. So last couple days, we've asked for some listener viewer questions, guys, and we got a lot. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of let's just go through some of these. And let's start with the big picture when we kind of started talking big picture. But this one's from Danny Stone, I guess. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you guys about the current state of the Phillies? Let's start with Jim. Jim, how worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Let me take my pulse. How worried? Worry and panic are not in my vocabulary, at least at this time of the year. So I'm probably a 1.5.
Or at your age.
I'm young.
A 1.5?
1.5, my worry meter. I think it's, baseball ebbs and flows. I'm going to throw all the cliches at you, the ups and the downs. It's baseball. I think they have good players with good track records, and I think they're going through a funk. The Dodgers kind of have gone through it. The Orioles have gone through it. The Yankees have gone through it. It's bitten the Phillies, and I think they're going to live to tell about it and maybe be stronger for it. Yes, there is swing and miss in this lineup. Even when they're going good, there's going to be nights when you go, what are they doing? There's a lot of swing and miss. There's chase. It's just in their DNA. But when they put it together and they have great games, they can play over that. There'll be nights, though, when it rears its head and it'll frustrate you. They've had injuries in the starting rotation. That's difficult to deal with. They had a little lull in the starting rotation from Sanchez, and Wheeler had a tough one. That's part of baseball. I still like this team. My worry factor, 1.5.
All right, nice. Thanks, Jim. So I'll give it to you from several different angles. As coming from the Ruben Amaro, the player, I have 0. Okay, absolutely 0. No worries at all. I know the boys will be fine. As a Philadelphia Phillies fan, growing up, I'm at a 9. As a GM, when I was a GM, I'd probably be in like the 6 to 7 range.
Really? Okay.
But I will tell you that I'm probably right now, probably right in the 4 or 5. And the reason why I'm 4 or 5 is because the only person that I'm really concerned about, or I guess the element that I'm worried about, is the starting pitching. If you get Suarez back, and I think he is starting to develop. He had a nice bullpen on Monday. He pretty aggressively pitched. I think he's going to start to move forward, maybe face some hitters in a couple of outings. Going to have another, I think, aggressive bullpen when they in Arizona. It's probably going to see a couple of hitters then. And then after that, who knows whether he goes on a rehab or not. But if he gets through that with his back and he's comfortable, apparently he threw really well in his bullpen, then I go back to like a 2, because I really believe in this starting rotation when they're at full bore. It's really good. The Christopher Sanchez start was huge. They've got Taijuan Walker coming back to create some depth. I don't think he's a world beater, but he's a major league pitcher, and he's starting to throw a little bit better. He's not quite ready. He had a rain out in his last rehab, so he's pitching, I think, tonight in Akron. And so for the Fighting Phils in Reading. And, I just gotta believe that if their health of their pitching staff is okay, then I drop down to a pretty low number.
Can I say something? I don't, worry to me is different than being ticked off. I think you can be ticked off like a 9.9 at the way they're playing. You can be ticked off and
right.
Like, what the hell is going on? And tighten it up without being worried. Because, I think if you observe the big picture and you know a little bit about the team, you think they're going to come out of it, that reduces your worry. But you want to play good every night. You want to have high standards. You can be pissed off and ticked off about the way they're playing. To me, that's different than worry. Does anybody agree?
I agree 100%. I think everybody in that clubhouse has been frustrated. They've said as much, but they've also said that they believe in the talent in the room, like you guys have been saying, and they are not panicked about it. I talked a little bit yesterday with Dave Dombrowski, and I said, "How concerned are you?" He's like, "I'm not concerned at all. I think we're good. We're going to be fine." Jim, you mentioned it, health of the rotation. Ruben, you just talked about it. He said, "What do you think about it? We've lost 3 out of our top 6 starters right now. We're without Suarez, Walker, Turnbull. That's a big hit." But yeah, so I'm like at a 2. I'm not concerned at all either. I think they're going to be fine. I think it's not like these guys are, in my opinion, at the very end of their primes, and you're going, "Uh-oh, is this the downside? Are we seeing the downside in the second half of the 2020?" All these guys are really in their primes, so I'm not. For that reason, I'm not worried about it. It's not.
You mean they're not? It's not like 2012.
It's not. This is not the 2012 Phillies where you're going, "Uh-oh."
Not yet.
Not yet. No, I think they've got another couple of years to go. Theoretically, before they get to that point. But all right, so let's let a lot of questions. I'll just generally speaking, because honestly, like half the questions were about the backup catcher position, and to me, it's kind of I think it's just kind of coming off that pinch hit at bat or non-pinch hit at bat on Monday night. But do you have any thoughts on the backup catcher situation? A lot of people asking about Rafael Marshon and Garrett Stubbs. To me, that's not even a big issue, I guess, because it's the backup catcher. I think they've got a lot of other things they got to figure out, and if those things get figured out, we're not talking about the backup catcher situation.
Yeah, if you're focused on that, some other things must be going pretty well. People were up in arms about not pinch hitting the other night, and Rob wanted to get JT a full day. From covering this team for a long time and listening and trying to parse things and seeing how they handle certain things, I don't know if that was a completely solo Rob Thompson decision. I think when JT comes off the IL, that their medical team and their sports science team are involved, and they're mapping out what the next month looks like on a surgically repaired knee for an important player. That day off might have been scripted 2 weeks ago, and there was no way he was not going to get it. And to pinch hit in that situation means if you tie the game, he's got to go out there and get behind the dish. And they wanted him to get a full day on that knee. And now maybe their thinking was shaped by the big picture that, they have a good amount of wins and they're looking good in terms of the postseason picture. But I think there's a chance that decision was, I'm sure Rob Thompson's part of it, but even bigger than Rob. And in a way, he's following an organizational game plan. I don't know if you guys agree. Ruben, might you agree there?
I sure do. There's no question about it. I don't think the comfort of him coming into games, again, this is a knee that, and he's so important because if the backup catcher situation becomes important only if JT's not able to catch, 90% of the games like he typically does, or 85% of the games. And I think they're sort of easing him in. We will find out a lot about how the Philadelphia Phillies feel about Marshon when they expand the rosters in September. Because on the days off, when JT needs a day off, I got to believe that Marshon will be back there catching, because I love this kid. I think this kid at some point, if he gets his health together and his durability together, has a chance to be a number one catcher. Again, it's a big if. But I love the way he receives. He calls an excellent game. He can swing the bat a little bit. He's gaining some confidence there from both sides. And, starting catchers who can run a game and can receive and throw the way this kid can and be a switch hitter, that's a real plus. So we'll find out a lot about him in September, I think, when he comes back up. And I know they can't expand a lot. What is it? One or two players they can only bring? I don't know what the maximum number of players they can bring after this expansion. They used to be unlimited. Now it's just a couple, 2 or 3 players. And so, so it might be him and, say another pitcher. So I just think it's not that big of a deal. It's obvious that Garrett Stubbs is not a great offensive player, but I mean, he's there for a couple of different reasons. One, he's an important part of the team in that clubhouse. And 2, he's actually, and more importantly, he does a pretty good job behind the plate, running a game and doing those sorts of things. So you'd rather have depth there. And listen, I get it. I think it would be a kind of a blow to the clubhouse in a lot of ways to be flip-flopping those guys, and I don't think it's all that important right now.
Totally. Couldn't agree more. This one's from Kita, I believe the name is. I think I'm mispronouncing it. It's basically a Rob Thompson question about his style. Says he's like Nero watching Rome burn. He needs to be honest with himself and make some changes. I don't care if the big money guys like it or not. She wants some ranting and raving, it sounds like, or some benchings or some lineup shuffles. And to me, that's just not who Rob Thompson is. And I think the guys in that clubhouse appreciate it. I think the guys in that clubhouse are very good at policing themselves. And, Kyle Schwarber the other day in Seattle said, it's not like we're not working. We're in the cage every day, taking hundreds and hundreds of swings for maybe 4-5 swings all night. We're working our butts off. And I'm reminded of something that Jeff Francoeur said on the show in late June when he said, this team has so many high-priced stars, but he's like, I'll give Bryce Harper $330 million because I know he cares, and it kills him when he's not playing well. I know I'll give Trey Turner $300 million because I know it kills him when he's not playing well. Kyle Schwarber $80 million because I know it kills him when he's not playing well. And these guys care, and they're going to continue to work out of it. And I don't think Rob Thompson ranting and raving or flipping over a spread or, chewing out the team in front of the dugout so all the TV cameras can catch it and, they can play it on MLB Network or on NBC Sports Philadelphia. That's not his style, and I don't think it would be effective in this clubhouse. So, keep calm, carry on. That's the Rob Thompson mantra, and it seems to be working quite well.
I agree with you, Todd. He is the steady mariner who takes that vessel and steers it around the sea monsters and the tidal waves, and you come out on the other end surviving it all. And for him to start tipping over stuff would not be true to his personality.
Right.
And guys see right through that. And then you lose the clubhouse. So you need to be true to your person. If it is your personality to throw around and tip over the spread and throw around furniture, then that's fine. But he needs to be true to his personality. That doesn't mean he can't call somebody in behind closed doors and air him, because I think that is more his style, and I do think that happens. But you got to be true. You got to be steady. This is, it's not football where you're playing, 16 or 18 games. You're banging your head against the locker. You're coming out and tearing somebody's head off. You have to maintain. And I believe you need to play with energy and exuberance. I believe in emotion in that way. But I don't think you come out and start smashing stuff. It's a different kind of emotion. It's a more even-keeled emotion in this game. And I think your top managers, at least these days, maybe back in Gene Mark's era, it was different. But at least in these days, you need to be steady. Do you think how do you think Bryce Harper is going to react if Rob Thompson tips over the bat racket in the dugout? Do you think it's going to have any impact on him? Do you think it had any impact on Schwarber and Castellanos? They're going to be like, what the hell is this? Stay, be yourself. Don't change. They've had a pretty good run here for what, two full years since he's taken over. They're having a little blip here. Let's not start having personality transplants because of one blip.
Totally agree with what you guys are saying, and you're right about the personality. I will tell you that he was not happy when they were playing poorly.
Shouldn't be.
Was not happy, and he should not be. But if you remember and think back to the guys who have the greatest amount of success as a manager, guys like Bobby Cox and Brian Snitker even, and you start thinking back about even a guy like Jim Fregosi, all of those, and Charlie Manuel. I mean, the sky could be falling, and they stay steady in the dugout. That does not mean at all that they're not not emotional about how they're playing. They're pissed. Believe me, baseball men get pissed. But they also understand the importance of being level-headed and steadying the ship. And that's exactly, you don't have to agree with all the moves that Rob Thompson makes. And there's some questionable things that he's done in the playoffs and stuff like that. But I love the way he goes about it. He understands the psyche of the player. He knows over time, he's seen the changes that have occurred as far as when to pat guys on the ass and when to, beat on them a little bit. And the reality of it is, I love the way he handles things. And it's a great combination of, understanding and yet still demanding, because he's going to demand excellence from them. Believe me, if he sees people not working or doing their jobs, he's going to let them know, and has, but he'll do it behind closed doors where the player will not be embarrassed. And then that way he doesn't lose the player. He needs that guy. He needs everybody to pull on the same side of the rope. And I think he does a heck of a job in that area.
Yeah, if the manager gets all nervous and fidgety and chewing his nails and fussing and feuding and smashing stuff, he's the leader. Those guys feed off that negative energy, and all of a sudden they're gripping the bat handle tighter. It becomes defeatist. So be true to your personality. He is the, kind of the calm mariner, taking this team through the seas, and just continue being that.
Anthony Fiore wants to know, what is your favorite Phillies prank or joke you were a part of? So let's get off the serious baseball talk and see if you guys have any funny
we have
pranks you were involved in.
We told the Will Venable one early on in the podcast. How I punked Todd when they signed. I'll tell it again real quick. They signed Will Venable, and Todd says to me in the morning, "Hey, they signed Will Venable. This is the spring training." I go, "Yeah, Venable. It's Will Venable." He goes, "What?" I said, "It's Will Venable, not Venable. It's Venable." So we're in spring training. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. The day goes by. We finally get with Pete McCannon late in the afternoon, and we had both forgotten about this. And Todd says to Pete McCannon, "What are your plans for Venable?" And Pete McCannon goes, "What?" He goes, "What are your plans for Venable?" Venable. Todd, I just couldn't hold. I still laugh when I think about that, but
that's a good one.
Podcast. It's It's one of my all-time favorites.
It's so funny.
When it comes to ballpark pranks, John Vukovich was way up there. I used to love when he took Chris Wheeler's briefcase and he put it out at shortstop during BP, and guys would just try to tee off and crush Wheeler's briefcase. That was always a good one.
I got one when I was a bat boy, and it was not pretty. So when I was a bat boy back in the day, I think it was in 1981. It was either 81 or 82, and Dick Ruthven was still on the staff. I think Mike Krukow was with the Phillies at that time, who was long-time broadcaster with the Giants now. Great, both great guys. But I used to leave my Coca-Cola or my Diet Coke right by the balls because it used to get really, really hot. And back then, we didn't know about hydration. We didn't know that, Coca-Cola was not really hydrating yourself.
Oh my God.
That's probably a diuretic. Anyway, those guys used to chew tobacco. And I left the lid off. So when I come back, I finally, one time I go back and apparently they were like leaving tobacco juice into my thing. So I couldn't tell that it was a Coke because it was dark. Apparently I was drinking some tobacco juice.
Nice.
For about 2 weeks until I realized what the hell was going on. That was nasty. And then they finally saw me figure it out. They were laughing their rear ends off. I'm like, you sons of bitches! I can't believe you're doing that to me. It's just disgusting. Anyway,
hey Todd,
that's gross. That was a gross.
That was disgusting.
Todd, did you ever hear the one about the young Phillies player gets off to a nice successful start and years ago and goes out and buys himself a fire engine red Ford Explorer and is really proud of this Ford Explorer and really proud that he's a big leaguer and a Philly, and he goes to the DMV and gets a personalized license plate for this red Ford Explorer that says it says love LUV #2 hit, love to hit on the personalized license plate. And then he goes in the tank and he's slumping. And he comes out one night and somebody had taken a piece of athletic tape and under love to hit, they had written, but can't.
I've never heard this.
Who might have been this young Philly, Ruben?
That would be me.
Oh my God!
I
don't know that
I was a little cocky when I first got to the big leagues because I sort of had to deke myself into thinking I was a much better player than I really was. To some of the veterans didn't care for that too much in '92, and I actually had a very good start to the season. I was humble about the start. I was trying to be humble about that, but my license, I did love to hit. I worked at it a lot. But then I think it was John Kruk who actually asked, I think it was maybe Phil Sheridan at the time, who was working as working in the clubhouse. I think he told him to go put this thing on this tape underneath and say, he loves to hit, but he can't.
I actually asked Crucky if it was him, and he said it wasn't. And he said, check with Mitch.
Oh, it could have been Mitchie Poo too. I will say this I thought for a long time it was Crucky, but I will tell you this, that John Kruk did me a solid. Months later when I came back, I got sent down for a little bit and I came back and he actually grabbed me at my locker and had some real encouraging words for me at the time. That was the time when those guys in the, kind of the Broad Street bullies type guys, that they had a very, very tough clubhouse. And staff, some old school guys, and it was not the welcoming place for the rookies as it is in this day and age, especially with these Phillies, because they're great. But yeah, John was really, really great.
Those are funny memories.
Funny.
What about the time, Jim? You pranked me over the phone and told me that Jose Mesa punched you in the nose.
I gotta hear that one.
So this was
one day we had a little battle. We got over it. It was nothing. It happens. And
yeah.
You were very critical of him.
No, I really wasn't. I was actually more
Jose tended to be a little sensitive about things when things didn't go well for him. He actually Jose for a long time until Papelbon rolled around. He was had the most saves in
he was
in Phillies history.
I was on his side on this one because he had an option in his deal. If he finished 55 games, he would get $5.5 million the next year. And all of a sudden, you guys started taking the ball from him. So, there was a little trying to keep that option from kicking in. And I think he was more frustrated at you guys, Ruben, upstairs than he was at me. And he kind of unloaded on me. But, it was no big deal. But anyway, we go to Pittsburgh.
You guys had a little confrontation in the clubhouse in Philly after it was a Sunday night game against the Cardinals. Mesa's on the mound. He gets pulled. Now, Mesa has not been in the clubhouse all season post game. You can never find him. You can never find him. He's not in the clubhouse when the media's in there. This night, he gets pulled out of the game in the 9th inning. And who's sitting at his dugout stroking his goatee? Jose Mesa. So Jim, being the great reporter he is, he goes, Jose is at his locker. Maybe he wants to finally talk. And then you take it from there, Jim.
Yeah, because
what happened after that?
He had a finish taken from him, which would have maybe helped him get to his option. So I asked him if he was talking, and he just kind of got very upset at me, and we got upset at each other. But it kind of went away. Yeah. And but there was a little bit of a Cold War for a while, and so like a week later, we go to Pittsburgh, and it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, Friday night. And for some reason, you couldn't get to the Friday night game. So I covered the Friday night game. And I think you were driving over to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I was. And
you drive over to Pittsburgh. And, it was after the game. And I'm upstairs typing the story. And my phone rings. And I pick it up. And it's you. And you're like, hey, I'm pulling into Pittsburgh. How did everything go tonight? And I kind of pinch my nose. And I go, you son of a gun. Don't you ever take another day off. I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I go, Mesa drilled me right in the nose. He said, my nose is broken. I'm bleeding all over my keyboard. He's like, you going to go to the hospital? What happened? And I'm like, no, man, I'm going to finish my story. I'm a gamer. And Todd is all panicked that Jose Mesa has broken my nose, which obviously it was a joke. Finally, I let him into the game. I'm like, I'm just kidding. I'll see you back at the hotel.
I 100% believe it because they were getting at it. Now they didn't really get at it, but they were kind of nose to nose in Philly at the Vet, in the clubhouse at the Vet in 03 that night. So I was like, oh my God, I got Jim punched out by Jose Mesa in the clubhouse in Pittsburgh.
Because I was filling in for you. But we actually, when Jose, he left and then he came back, you guys brought him back.
06?
Yeah, he got his, I want to say 1,000th appearance. I think it was his 1,000th major league appearance in a Phillies uniform. And I wrote a story about it. And he was really grateful that milestone was recognized. And, we man hugged and it was really great. He was a really good guy. I liked Jose.
Yeah, I like Jose a lot. I got a chance we called him Joe Table.
Yeah.
Table was a great teammate, man. I played with him in Cleveland, and just enjoyed having him be around. And when Ed acquired him, I think Ed acquired him from the Seattle Mariners. Is that correct?
Yeah, signed him, right?
There's a lot of questions about, wow, is this guy done or is he not done? But I think, our scouting people did a nice job. He actually did a really good job for us for a long time, and in a tough city that is not very forgiving. And I have a lot of respect for Joe because he did a nice job for the Phillies, and for a long time he was racking up a lot of saves. It wasn't always super clean, but other than Mo, who's super clean?
I had a lot of
not too many of them.
Right. I had a lot of respect for him too. Do you remember what his warm-up music was, you guys? I do. Do you remember?
Wasn't it Bryan Adams?
Yeah, it was Bryan Adams.
Summer of '69, because him and his brother, the story goes.
His twin brother, right?
I don't know if it was his twin, but him and his brother signed with the Blue Jays originally.
It was his twin.
And they didn't speak any English, and they came to the States or wherever, and they bought that cassette tape of Bryan Adams and they played it over and over, and it helped him kind of learn English. So I thought that was a really
neat
cool story. And he ended up playing that song as his warm-up music.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. I do remember him doing that. I do remember that warm-up song. Yeah, obviously sticks in my mind. This one is from Xander.
Xander Bogarts?
Xander Bogarts. Thanks for listening to the Phillies Show, Xander Bogarts. Do you guys have a favorite ballpark snack or food? Could be at Citizens Bank Park or on the road.
It depends where I am. I've always loved in San Francisco, the clam chowder and a bread bowl. I love that.
Yeah.
I've always loved the burger at Citi Field. They have a really good burger behind the press box with those Nathan's fries. That's pretty good. And I remember getting some really good fish tacos at Dodger Stadium and looking over, and Matt Breen was eating like a beet salad.
Well, Matt, he takes care of his body a little bit better. He takes care of his dog. I'm a big fan of the garlic fries in San Francisco. They're spectacular, man, and those will give you breath forever.
You cannot kiss your wife for 11 days.
No, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it. There's a bunch of other foods. Every single day when we come riding up that elevator to go to the press box in Citizens Bank Park, and you smell the burgers in there.
Shake Shack burgers.
The Shake Shack burgers. Yeah. I don't know how the attendants inside that elevator handle it because they keep rolling through here, man. The Shake Shack burgers. That smell is pretty fantastic.
It's funny when the new ballpark opened in San Francisco 20 years ago. I was out there I guess the Phillies were out there the first year it opened, and sitting in that front row, Todd, in the press box, Yeah. And there's two old time scouts sitting up behind me in that third row. And I hear them talking, and he's like, one of the guys goes, you used to go to Candlestick Park, and all you smelled was marijuana. You come here, and all you smell is garlic.
That is great. Oh my gosh. For me, I would say at Citizens Bank Park, the Federal Donuts chicken sandwich to me is a
really.
Candidate. Yeah, I love the Federal Donuts chicken sandwich. Nice. I'm a big Federal Donuts guy. You can get the donuts there, chicken sandwich, and then on the road, man, there's a lot of good food ballparks. At Citi Field, they have that Pat LaFrida's steak sandwich that's really good. They have Mamas of Corona, like the hoagie that they sell.
Remember we used to go there all the time?
Yeah, there's right down the street from Citi Field. That is great. There's a lot of great stuff. How about for me, being a Milwaukee guy, the brats and the Polish sausages.
Really good. They're really
at American Family Field. Those are tremendous.
The Polish.
Speaking of dogs, how about the Dodger dog? The Dodger dog's outstanding, and I will say that Dave Dombrowski yesterday was, they have a pretty good spread there in L.A. But he said, "Hey man, gotta have a Dodger dog. We're here in L.A." So he fired one down. Yeah. Had it all doctored up nicely, but they're really terrific as well.
You got to put a lot of sludge on that thing. Whatever they got, you throw it on there.
You're big on that. I know that.
Yeah. So Brett Mathis wants to know. I asked a couple questions. Is it a World Series or bust type of season? But I thought this one might be interesting as well. What's everyone's favorite part about their job? It's kind of a big question.
Go ahead. Why don't you lead it off, Todd?
Favorite part of the job, for me, of course, it's like being in the ballpark, seeing something new every night and all that. But I think a cool part of the job, Jim, I don't know if you feel this way. I don't know if this is cheesy or corny or not, but I always think it's kind of cool coming to the ballpark every day, getting the ballpark at 2:30 in the afternoon. Some guys are on the field taking early hitting. The game day employees are kind of getting the concessions going. There's this kind of this building buzz. There's this building energy, and then of course the ballpark, the gates open, right? But you're at the ballpark 3, 4, 5 hours before first pitch, and you don't really know what's going to happen today, and you feel something, right? And then you do all the game work. You go downstairs, you write your story, good or bad, win or lose, or whatever, and then it's also very cool leaving the ballpark at night. Now it's completely dead silent. I always remember, and why I think of that is I remember the night Cole Hamels threw his no-hitter at Wrigley Field, 2015, last start with the Phillies. Crazy game, super fun game. Ballpark is electric. I finished my story, and I took the long walk out, Jim, on the top there toward the end where the elevators are, and I just looked out, and Wrigley Field is completely dark. It's dark outside, just the lights shine, a few lights shining in the field. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. This place is wild about 2 hours ago, and now it's completely peaceful, and it was a gorgeous view. And I was like, this is kind of a cool job. So that might be one for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim. How about you?
I know exactly what you're saying about getting to the ballpark early. There's that serenity. It's quiet.
Yep.
And you can actually get some work done, do your prep. And then people start filling up. Now players start coming out for, they come out in their flip-flops to, just get the feel, maybe do a little stretching. And all of a sudden the ballpark fills up. It's alive, and then it's quiet again. My favorite, just being around baseball, I've loved it my whole life, and just being able to be around the ballpark. Honestly, I remember, pulling up to any ballpark, and when I see the light towers, I get excited. And, just being one of the lures, besides loving baseball, one of the lures that grabbed me into this profession was I enjoy storytelling. I enjoy reading a great story. I enjoy telling a great story. I wanted to do that. And just being able to tell a great story and feel like you did it well is my favorite part of the job and the best part of the job. Telling a story about the player as a human being or the club executive as a human being. What makes that human being tick? Because, they're all human beings. The player is just part of the human being. And that's always been very satisfying for me.
Well, I mean, as most people know, I grew up in baseball because of my father, but I think back my favorite parts of being involved in baseball, not just being a Major League Baseball player, but I remember when I was a GM, I would park underneath, I would walk up to the concourse level, and before anything was going on, it was like 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and they're cleaning up from the night before, and I grab a seat right there, probably usually around the first base line, and grab a seat in the stadium, in the ballpark at Citizens Bank Park when I was a GM. And I would sit there and think to myself, oh my God, how crazy is it that I get to run this organization's baseball department? And I never took that for granted. I did that almost every day when we were at home. I would sit there and just, suck it all in. It was very gratifying. It makes me emotional. One of my favorite things to do was to watch the Fanatic do his thing before in the pregame. I mean, I did it. I watched it as a kid. I watched it. I mean, I it's been going on for years. It's spectacular. I think about that as a moment for me. And I will also tell you, working and being back with the Phillies in this role as a broadcaster, analyst, etc. For me to be, it's almost like, I really truly living the dream, because I get to talk about my favorite sport and my favorite team that I was so involved in and meshed with. And I get to be around the people that were my colleagues. I get to work with you guys. I get to be around the people that I've really enjoyed and grown up to and grown to know. And then I get to play golf because I don't have to worry about as much about the wins and losses, and I can just try to enjoy the game and the people that are involved in it.
Absolutely. That's a great place to end. That was fun. And thanks to everybody that sent in these questions. We had a bunch more, but we can't have the show go 3 hours. I think that would be a little bit
next
too
time.
Much. Yeah, next time. Yeah, but we'll try to do more of these. I think people enjoy that. And Phillies Dodgers tonight. Phillies can win their first series since they swept the Dodgers last month. So we'll see what happens.
Tyler Phillips, man. Step forward. Got to bounce back.
Tyler Phillips bounce back games. All right. We'll be back later this week. Thanks, guys.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.